Hi everyone, welcome to Investing with Value. So today we're going to look at Yalla Group, and Yalla Group is still doing wonderfully well in terms of its progress. Of course, the share price recently has kind of dipped a bit, but basically every growth stock in the US has really taken a hit in a massive way because Biden's come in, he's put in so many taxes, he's put in this uncertainty into this market, and it's really difficult for everyone to really kind of gauge the value of things, and everyone's just trying to buy what's more secure. And in terms of security, growth stocks generally have that volatility about them that people just don't like to be in when there's times of uncertainty. But I'm still, I think the Yalla share price has kind of held up really well. So we're at $18.36, giving a $2.64 billion valuation. And you can kind of see through this long term, it's still done, in a sense well, because it's still an uptrend from like last year when it was less than $10. So you can kind of see that the share price still is making traction. I think in the future, when the market takes a bit of an uplift with growth stocks again, then basically you're going to see the stock go up again. But most important of all, at the end of the day, if the company performs well, it will reflect in the share price eventually. So that's the thing, when you invest in growth companies, you need to have a longer term time frame so that when the market's being irrational, you can actually wait it out rather than trying to just look at the share price and go, this company's doing so well, yet the share price is not reflecting that. And that can happen so much, it might even frustrate you. But that's the whole thing, you go into a stock, have a long-term mindset, and basically just wait it out. So in terms of revenue for their first quarter, which they released in the 10th of May, which wasn't too long ago, they did 67.6 million in the first quarter, which is an upside from last year first quarter, 221%. So when a company is performing those kind of metrics of millions of dollars, it is fantastic. Like, if they can continue this momentum, it's just going to really build such a valuable company going forward. And the beautiful thing is that its net income is 19.8 million. And its net margins is 29%. And that's also an increase of well over 100% on the prior quarter. So the one really nice thing about these type of companies is they earn a net profit, which kind of in tough times like this, and kind of in this instance, where the market is not favoring growth, it's brilliant that they still earn profit because it enables them to continue to focus on growth without having to worry about raising money at a low, sort of a low share price. Like, this $18 isn't necessarily that much lower of a share price. It's pretty decent. But of course it can be much higher, and in February it did reach around that $40 mark. So you kind of feel like, oh, actually the share price is down from that. But if we look at the whole chart, which it's always good to just look at the chart rather than just looking at this peak that just comes up every so often. People get excited, they push the stock high, and then market just has a kind of a correction and the stock falls. So that's why you might look at something that's run too fast, too quick, and in a sense too high. It's about to come down for a bit anyway. But of course it's going to happen again, and it's just a matter of time of just waiting it out. So currently, in terms of the value proposition in Yalla Group, 2.6 billion is more like, it's around about 10x of its revenue, which is relatively fair in a sense. Like, it's fair, but also the market is probably just discounting the fact that, hey, this is actually growing at 221%, rather than like 50%. If it was like 50%, maybe like 10x might feel more justified. But if it's at 200%, you feel like it could well warrant 20x or more than that. But hey, this is how the market's kind of interpreting things right now, that hey, growth is probably going to slow down in the next 12 months because you can't sustain 221% in growth. But as they go, they're just going to continue to generate a lot of value. So it's just a matter of time before the share price does well. And it's just like all growth companies, it takes a lot of time sometimes. It's really like, it's difficult when the market's not in your favor, when the market's not quite favoring growth stocks, but eventually they do come back. And the beautiful thing about growth stock is even if it's not reflected in the share price, that value is constantly being compounded every like day, every month, every quarter. That's the beautiful thing about companies. They continue regardless of what's happening in the share price. In terms of the breakdown of the revenue, chatting services generated 54.8 million. So chatting services are by far the big earner. And in gaming services was 12.8 million, which is still really, really good. It's a nice way to diversify their income into two lots. And if we look at the users, they're up to 18.8 million users, and that was the end of March. I'm sure it's probably even higher by now. So that's the really wonderful thing. So one thing is it's generating a lot of revenue, but the other thing is it's also generating a lot of users. And if we look at all social platforms, it's about generating the users first. If you get the people on a platform, eventually they all want to stay there, and you can just monetize that platform over time. You don't have to do it instantly. The biggest thing is about keeping the users there and continuing to grow the amount of users. The fact that this company is profitable and sustainable by itself is the really beautiful thing. So not all the users pay. So about 5.8 million pay. So slightly less than a third. Well, actually a little bit more. I guess slightly less than a third. So yeah, like it's pretty good. Like about 5.8 million users helped them generate about 67 million for this first quarter. If they're spending money on it, they must be enjoying it. And I think Yalla's just proven that it's just gaining a lot of traction in that region, and it can continue to spend money to continue to grow and get more users on its platform. And yeah, there's currently just no threat of any other social platform coming in to take its cake. So I think this is just a platform that's building really, really well. And I think as we just continue to look the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, this company should continue to perform, and eventually you should see it in the share price. Like 2.6 is probably quite fair in a sense, but like 12 months down the line, you could well see this company worth at least 5-6 billion, if not a lot more, because of the value they're just generating. Like you should never underestimate the effect of the compounding of value, and I think you'll really see this going forward in terms of what these guys are doing here. And I think $18.36, it's all right. It's like, it's a decent share price. It's not necessarily selling at like a really undervalued proposition, but it's not really an overvalued proposition either. And I think it can continue to go up in the future. So that's probably all I have to say about this. If you got any questions or comments, feel free to do that below. Always a pleasure reading those comments, and also thanks for tuning in. It's always a pleasure just to have you guys tune in and watch the content, because it's you produce it and you hope someone appreciates it, of course, or else it's not worth the time. But I know you guys appreciate it, and I am very thankful of that. Until next time, good luck investing, everyone.